evening, fellow humans. Jordan Sather reporting live from planet Earth, May 27th, Wednesday. We're going to get weird tonight. We got some wild reports, claims across the mainstream media regarding my aliens, the ALMAOs, CIA using genetic data to track for aliens, whistleblower claims. Yeah. The issue is we're in headline culture. People read the headlines, don't bother to read the article, don't bother to analyze anything, and they just jump based off the headline, what the report says. And then they think it's true, and all across, especially Instagram. That's actually where I'm spending most of my time these days is Instagram. But for now, I'll jump back onto the other platforms more so. But especially on Instagram, people will make these videos. These videos will go viral. Just jump into conclusions based off the headline. And amongst all topics, but especially UFOs right now, the headlines are trash. Like, it's just clickbait. It's pure clickbait. So we'll take a look at that story, and I'll explain to you why I think it is garbage clickbait and what could be going on with PSYOPs regarding the UFO topic. What I think is going on is that you have a contingent of maybe shadow government, deep state groups, whatever you want to call it, but this contingent is trying to poison the well and undermine any legitimate disclosure efforts by the Trump admin or the white hats, if you will. And they're doing so by just pumping out, propagating a lot of garbage, clickbait, ridiculous claims, whistleblower says, rumor, hearsay, etc. So we'll talk about that article going viral. Few other things on UFOs. Let me scroll down to my topics of the night. We got some Pam Bondi on deck. Couple of things on Pam Bondi. And then Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene spotted together, hanging out. Little double date there for them. And rumors have it they might be maybe running for president, running some kind of political campaign together. Who knows? We'll see. Also, rumor has it Tulsi Gabbard's going to be dropping some bombs on the deep state before she leaves in a month, which I imagine something will get declassed through her office before she skadoodles. And then I want to talk for a bit about the data centers. And, there's a lot of things to be aware of with the data centers, of course, energy usage, water usage, buying up all the land they're buying up, all that stuff. And absolutely it's a concern, but I want to offer some possible answers we might see coming down the pipeline, being deployed right now, or researched and going to get deployed in the coming years that'll answer some of those questions. Help answer the energy usage, answer the water usage. Also, we've got some companies looking at putting these data centers in space, which I think is a far better thing than putting them on the ground. So we'll talk a lot about data centers here in a little bit. And then a few other topics at the end. You had a OnlyFans hack hoax that was going around. OnlyFans didn't get hacked. Be funny if it was. I would laugh. But, yeah, that was a hoax. And we'll see what else we get to. Tabs up there. What's up, Claire? Good evening and happy Thursday. You must be somewhere on the planet where it's Thursday, I'm assuming. Unless I'm getting my days wrong, which is possible. Pretty sure it's Wednesday. Why does YouTube encourage the fake clickbait? Damn good question, Mr. or Mrs. Two Bears 2011 over there. I've theorized fairly recently a few times that the reason why you're seeing less censorship on the big tech platforms, namely YouTube and Instagram, is because they are back to that point I just made a minute ago. They're trying to poison the well. So it could be such that the deep state is saying, well, we can't censor them, we can't fight them, so we'll just join them and poison the well. So they're allowing all this conspiracy stuff to spread because their main goal is to spread clickbait BS with it to confuse people. I think that's what's going on, especially on meta platforms right now, Facebook and Instagram, but YouTube as well. They're not censoring anymore. Like, oh, free speech, they're not censoring anymore. Yeah, but what they're really doing is pumping out a lot of bullshit because they know people are waking up, or at least trying to wake up. They know that. They can't stop that. So what they can try and do is just divert people down, pick your clickbait narrative, flat earth, and trash like that. All right, guys. A couple of things I want to make note of before we get into today's stream. I know I've been recording less over the past month or so. And reason being, I just needed a little bit of a break from all the content creation. I'm going to get back into it shortly and get into more of a consistent stream schedule and post more on Twitter, Telegram, Instagram, all those. But I have been working on projects behind the scenes while I've been interneting less. And those projects will be coming to fruition over the next week and a half. Don't want to say too much about them right now, but there's like three big things I'm working on that I'm stoked to kind of release and put out there. So once I'm finished up and launched those, I'll get back into 3 streams a week and a lot more posting on Telegram, Twitter, Instagram. And then aside from that, I think that's the only thing I wanted to say. Might as well get into topics of the day. First one here. Whistleblower claims CIA used DNA data from Ancestry and 23andMe customers in search for aliens. And weird but true, says the media. Yeah, I'm sure you fact-checked that. No, it's just rumor. So, again, headline culture. People read this and they say, oh my gosh, it must be actually happening. Meanwhile, they don't read the article. And essentially where this comes from is this guy was on a podcast. It's just a claim from a podcast. And this guy, his name is Jason Reza Georgiani. They call him a philosopher and novelist. Okay. And he's claiming that the CIA wants to hunt down people who have extraterrestrial DNA in their makeup. Technically, isn't that all of us? Joke, but not really. Anyway, he's claiming the CIA wants to hunt down people with alien DNA, and they're using 23andMe and Ancestry data to do that. But here's the thing. The reason why this guy is claiming that is because he was told by another dude, allegedly. The other dude was Army veteran Lynn Buchanan. Lynn Buchanan claims that he was a psychic spy with the CIA's remote viewing program. I take that as the Stargate program that was ran back in the 70s with Stanford and the CIA. That's what I'm presuming that to mean. So you got this guy, CIA-connected guy, telling this guy, leading this guy to make the claim. So it's one dude with a rumor telling another guy who's sharing the rumor. See how that goes? It's just through the grapevine shit. He said, she said. And then Georgiani, look, we even have another step here. Look at this. Georgiani said that Buchanan had informed him that a former CIA analyst and UFO specialist, Christopher Kit Green, had devised a backdoor way of accessing 23andMe and Ancestry data. So freaking another CIA guy. So you had former CIA guy tells another guy who used to have connections to the CIA, who tells this guy, freaking, do you see? Just read the article. It's like, what the fuck? This guy, CIA connections, told this guy, CIA connections, told this guy, who's now telling another guy on a podcast. Sounds legit, right? Buchanan reportedly learned of this so-called campaign after being approached at a diner by 3 individuals claiming to be Nordic aliens. Tall, blue-eyed, blonde visitors from beyond the earth. And they're claiming these Nordics like to live in small towns in Colorado. And they pass as humans because they just look like tall Scandinavian people. So what? Buchanan, I'm getting lost with all the names here. So Buchanan said that some aliens approached him, and the Buchanan said that the aliens requested his help in avoiding detection by the CIA. Do you understand how fucking stupid that sounds? The Nordics are probably a little smarter than that, and they're not going to try to avoid detection by the CIA by going to a guy who used to work in a CIA program. Hey, bro, help us. You used to work in a CIA program. Help us avoid detection by the CIA. We're aliens. We're aliens living among your people, yet we're not smart or advanced enough to avoid detection on your planet. Why are you on this planet if you don't want to be detected? What? I need to smoke some weed after reading this article. I feel more retarded after reading this shit. Whatever, dude. The alien race had allegedly traveled to our planet via an underground railroad of sorts so they could escape their tyrannical government. The aliens could escape their tyrannical government, so they came to live on this planet with our tyrannical government. Fucking genius. These alien beings supposedly procreated with humans and birthed a line of intergalactic mixed-race children. Freaking, help me come up with a pejorative. Help me come up with something to call, like, a mixed race human Nordic child. Like a... with the goal of having their future generations grow up in a free society. So you came to this planet to escape a tyrannical government and procreated with humans? Isn't that... Did you tell them? Did these Nordic people, like, tell who they were banging that they were aliens? It's kind of fucked up if they didn't. That's not very freedom-minded of them. It's like I've seen videos where you got transgenders that'll go on dates and they won't tell who they go on a date with that they're transgender until like the end of the date or a few dates in. Then the person's like, "Oh, that is fucked up." Yeah, it is. Oh my God. Andrew over on YouTube sounds like a clickbait of the week episode. I could just do a whole episode on the ridiculousness of this article. And the New York Post actually posted this. They actually published this. Like, this got past the producer. Producer was like, "Oh, okay. Sounds legit. You know, in fact, let's publish it and let's add a little weird but true tag at the top." This sounds like, here's the thing. I've heard some wild shit going through the UFO community for all the years I did, right? And some of the wild shit that I heard 10 years ago in like underground, like the stuff you would hear on Gaia TV. The line between underground UFO crazy stuff and mainstream media, there is no line anymore. All the wild, ridiculous stuff I heard 8, 9, 10 years ago at the conferences and from the Gaia people, now we're seeing it in the mainstream media. But now, because it's in the mainstream media and you have whistleblowers, God, I hate this word. Whistleblowers, that word is used way too much. And philosophers and novelists, now that you have the experts saying it, people believe it. A lot more people are believing it. They think it's serious. This is the new trust the experts bullshit. Trust the experts. Good God. I'm sorry, guys. I had not actually read this article before streaming here. A lot of the stuff I go through on these streams, I do it with you. I want you to see like a genuine reaction from me when we're covering it together. I had seen this headline. I saw the Daily Mail actually put out an article on this report yesterday. So I had seen the story over the past couple of days, but I hadn't actually read the finer details of it till with you. So we analyze these things together. So you can kind of see how I go through things and how my brain works in analyzing this stuff. Norbrids. Ooh, I like that. Norbrids. I was thinking of like trying to come up with a Hafrican, but for Nordic humans, Normans, Normans, Hudix. There you go. Ugh. I need a drink after that one. No booze in there. It's just pineapple juice, but oh. Yeah, that was a wild one. Supposedly, says Cherry Bay, supposedly they're already working with our government, plus they don't even like us, let alone having babies with us. Yeah, I've heard the claims for years that the ETs are working with our government or, made a pact with the Eisenhower administration and all sorts of things. All rumors. Cool if true, might not be true. It's all, supposedly, as you wrote there. Plus, they don't even like us. I would venture to guess it depends on the species. You probably got some civilizations, some species of ETs out there that do like us. They probably see us as like children, rooting us on. Come on, get your shit together, little humans. You've got some races that probably don't give a shit about us. And some races that want to enslave us. So, agenda is going to vary. But, yeah. Humanoid. Huh! I like that one. Humanoids. You think true about Eisenhower? Maybe. I don't think we have any necessary basis to be confident about that being true, but I'm not throwing that idea out, but I'm not going to be so quick to jump into the belief of it, because belief is a very rigid, solid thing. I'm very hesitant with beliefs. I have a lot of ideas and things that I think are likely true. You go through the, possible, plausible, probable line dynamic, but you get to belief, that's like positive, sure, no doubt, I'd put my life, that's like belief is a strong thing. So I'm careful with those. Went to a dentist and had an x-ray, and he was really shocked about some anomaly about how my teeth are connected to my jaw, says he's never seen it before. Weird question. Were you vaccinated? So I had really fucked up teeth as a kid, like really messed up teeth. I had 4 or 5 surgeries by the time I was like 14. And I won't go into the I had long story, but really jacked up teeth. I'm freaking lucky to have like normal toothers, but I also have not very good vision. And I was doing some research once upon a time, finding that highly vaccinated babies are more prone to teeth problems and eyesight problems, because as the nervous system is developing, especially in the womb, but then as a baby, nervous system gets inhibited with proper development, and then the way the teeth and eyes develop could be jacked up because of vaccines. So just something to think about. But your comment made me go off on that tangent. Apologies. How do I know that Valiant Thor is not your father? Is he? Are you a time traveler? Did he time travel back to bang your mom? It wasn't just crooked teeth. It's how they formed from the jaw. My canines came out from a different place. Yeah, I had teeth that came out wrong directions and shit. And I was born with a few extra teeth too, so. Shout out Dr. What was his name? My orthodontist that I had for like 9 years. Dr. Nauman or Newman or something like that. I thank him all the time. Without him, I would literally not be able to bite things. Anyway, fun Jordan story. Let's get into more of the UFO stuff. Just another claim from Jason Giordani. I need to listen to this podcast. He looks kind of like he would be sketchy. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments. He looks like a mid-level guy in a New York mafia mob. Not a top-level guy, but like a mid-level sketchy-ass bookie in New York who's more than happy to be full of shit and like BS about stuff. But I know nothing about him. I've never heard of his name before today. That's just my my remote viewing of who he is. They keep calling him a philosopher. I don't know, dude. I guess anybody could be a philosopher if you smoke enough pot. Jason Giorgiani said Lockheed Martin has a craft that can reach Mars in just a few hours. They are flying time machines that warp time as they travel through space. He said he personally knows a man who visited one of these secret facilities and another person who has been there, both of whom have long careers in military intelligence. He refused to name them on Danny Jones' podcast, but stresses that the main one is an extremely salt-of-the-earth type, not a fantasist, and that this man worked at a high level in the intel community for decades. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that. Trust me, this guy that I met, trust me, I'm not going to name him, but this guy that I met, he's not crazy. He's legit. He's real down-to-earth dude. Apparently he's not down to Earth. He's down to Mars. Trust me. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that. And again, Mars bases, right? Gosh, I heard this 15 years ago. I was interviewing people 10 years ago who claimed they went to Mars bases, right? Heard this a million times. Friggin' what was his name? I spoke at a UFO conference with him in 2018. Randy Kramer. Randy Kramer claimed he went to Mars. I'm sure Corey Good at some point claimed he went to Mars. You know, two people I think are full of shit. Who once upon a time in my younger, dumber years, I thought, maybe, what if they're telling the truth? I entertained the idea. Yeah, I don't entertain it anymore. Like, sauce it or toss it, as they say. Sauce it or toss it. Rumors are a dime a dozen these days. I've heard it all. No claim surprises me. Nothing surprises me. Nothing. They're all just words, right? What really would surprise me if you actually gave me some tangible, verifiable something, anything to prove your case. Andrew Basiago, another dude who claimed he went to secret Mars facilities. Basiago's jump rooms, right? Didn't he claim that he went with Obama to Mars? So you got three. Kramer, Corey Good, Basiago. Who else claimed they went to secret Mars facilities? I don't know. You probably got 20 of them on Gaia that claim they went to Mars. I haven't had a Gaia subscription for a few years, so I don't know what they're doing these days, but anyway. Oh no, flat earthers in the chat. Yeah, I'm not even gonna entertain flat earth stuff, sorry. Corey Good admitted in a podcast that he made it up, that it was his reality. That wasn't a podcast. Corey Good said that in a legal deposition. That they were his imaginations, I think. So. Yeah, I'm going to check out this Danny Jones podcast with our mafia philosopher there. I'll check it out tomorrow. I'll probably do a dedicated video on this whole story. Lord knows, I need to do a video for Instagram on this story because I have seen this go viral all over that app. And I don't think anybody actually read the story like I just did. Jason Reza Georgiani has a book titled Iranian Leviathan, A Monumental History of Mithra's Abode. Was he writing about like a Nephilim giant living in Iran? That's what I assume from that, the title of that. Georgiani is Iranian himself. He did live in New York. He's a lifelong native New Yorker. I got that right. I called it. Our bro Georgiani is from he's a lifelong native New Yorker. I could tell. Maybe he's a Iranian disinfo asset. No other nation on earth has contributed more to the elevation of the human spirit and to the enrichment of every aspect of civilization on a global scale than Iran. This guy really likes Iran. All right. That's why we're calling him a philosopher, I guess. Because of a book talking about the Iranian Renaissance. It's got a freaking lizard eye on it. It's got a giant reptilian eye on the book. So, yeah. Maybe it's his reptilian eye. Moving on. Trump declares war on UFO secrecy in the deep state. A new executive order may be only days away, according to Grant Stinchfield. I like Grant. Grant Stinchfield seems all right. His heart, his intention seems all right. I don't think he knows much about this issue, though. But Grant interviewed Kent Heckenlively. Kent Heckenlively joined Grant Stinchfield because Kent Heckenlively just co-authored a new book, Catastrophic Disclosure. And according to Kent Heckenlively, he's got a source close to the president telling him that a major executive order is now being prepared that will blow the lid off decades of secrecy surrounding UFO and UAP programs. I know Kent. In fact, I think I have Kent's phone number. I haven't talked to him in a little bit. I interviewed him. Kent Heckenlively wrote a book on vaccines a few years ago, and I interviewed him about it on my channel. I think I have his phone number. I need to hit him up. Talk to him about this. Did I know he had a new UFO book out? I don't know if I knew he was writing about UFOs now. Kent isn't really he's not a UFO guy. He was always a Maha health guy. I mean, he's a very smart dude, though. I could see him writing a decent book on UFOs, but who's his source? I'm going to hit Kent up. Do I still have his number? I do. If that's his number. I'll send him a message. We'll see if he texts back while I'm on stream here. Anyway, I'll see if I can learn more about this. If the sources are legit. But, it's still kind of more like he said, she said stuff. So unnamed source tells a dude who tells another dude on a podcast. This is like UFO. This is all the UFO reporting and research has come to these days. Unnamed source tells a dude who talks to another dude that goes on a podcast. So, but I would, yeah. Anyway, and then the final trailer for Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day has been released. This is coming out in 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks, June 12th. And I would venture to guess this is... Where do I want to go with this? There's a lot of UFO stuff hitting the mainstream media. This, and I'm sure it's no coincidence that it's coming out in the preceding months before this Steven Spielberg film. I'm sure this Steven Spielberg film is going to be massive narrative deployment, right? I'm going to play this. We'll watch it together. And we'll just kind of see. We'll theorize as to what that narrative deployment might be. I'm going to turn my lights up while I play this.
I can see them. I am much more inclined now than I was when I made Close Encounters to really believe that we're not the only intelligent civilization in the universe.
Took that long?
What did you steal?
Secrets. People have a right to know the truth.
Oh, of course. This is going to feature a crazy conspiracy theorist in the movie that everybody's going to clown on at first, but then over time, the conspiracy theorist is proven right. It's just, there's so many. Over the past 5-10 years, there's been so many TV shows and movies with that exact storyline.
This is a story about us. all of us,
Good morning, Kansas City.
up against the most extraordinary event in human history.
What's happening to me? I'm frightened. I'm frightened out of my wits.
You don't need to be. You have someone else.
Daniel Kellner,
Who is this?
do not go back to the house. They found you. I don't know who you are, but they're gonna kill you.
The human race cannot accept what we know. We need to stop it any way we can.
What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing?
Hold on. Kent's calling me. Should I answer it? I'm going to answer it. Oh, I just missed it. You let me know if I should call Kent back while we finish this trailer and ask him who the hell his sources are. I'll do that on video.
This 79-year cover-up of the truth has to end.
We're interrupting our coverage.
How will disclosure change us? I believe for the better. It will remind us of our capacity for empathy, and that there is something bigger out there than just ourselves.
The only way to know your purpose is to go back to where it all began.
I know you.
I know you do. What happened to us?
I used to say to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of this turned out to be true? I'm now thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful for people to know all of this is true?
That's why you're using CGI, because it's so true. I would venture to guess that Steven Spielberg has been contacted by somebody on the inside. You know, maybe some white hats. Or, you know, it depends. Like, what's Spielberg's agenda here? Who is he contacted by? He was either contacted by shadow government people, bad guys, deep state, or he was contacted by good guys, white hats. And they're having Spielberg deploy these narratives. For what agenda, though? This is not, this is not just Spielberg's creation. He is not just doing this on his own accord. He was influenced. He was pushed to do this. The question is, who was he pushed to do it by? And what's their agenda? So, Podesta, somebody said, yeah, I could entertain the idea that maybe it was not the bad guys. Maybe Spielberg has been leveraged or influenced or something to that effect to do this for Team Patreon. I don't know. But everybody wants me to call Kent back. All right, I'm going to call Kent back. I told him I'm streaming right now, so. I'm not going to do it on speakerphone, though. Kent, long time no talk, man.
I know. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm live streaming right now. I was just reading about your interview with Grant. And I got to check out your UFO book. But is there anything you can tell me or you are, willing to say at the moment about the executive order Trump purportedly has planned coming out? You got some sources?
Yeah. So I got really good sources. You can check out my UFO book and kind of see who I talked to in that.
Can I? Would you mind if I put you on speakerphone?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Tell us about your sources, Kent, if you can. What can you say?
So, from my book, Catastrophic Disclosure, you'll see that I have some pretty good sources in Congress who I continue to talk to And I do have some upcoming books that are an upcoming book that will make a big splash. I can't quite talk about now. So, but within a month, it will probably be public knowledge. So I have been working with these sources. Their names that you would know. And I got a call maybe a week or so ago from somebody who talked about how the White House was talking to him something like an executive order, which would have 3 very specific parts to it. Part number 1, which is something that Dr. Stephen Greer had talked to me about a while ago, which was Greer's claim over the years has been that the reason he's able to do things is he put together what is called an unless otherwise directed letter, in which he wrote to all of the agencies which he believed had UFO information. And he said, my understanding of the Constitution is that since Congress has spent money on this, if you don't report to Congress, then these programs are by definition illegal, meaning that the NDAs that people have signed are null and void. So he's been making that argument for 20 or 30 years.
When do you think Trump's executive order is going to come out?
You know, it seems that it would be within a couple weeks.
Cool.
So I would say before the 4th of July.
Hey, next week, do you have some time to come on and record a little more of a conversation about this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. I'll hit you up after I'm done on the show here, and we'll schedule that.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, Kent.
Sure thing.
Appreciate you. Were you guys able to hear that? I tried to put it on speakerphone and like hold it up to the microphone there, but pretty cool. I'll get him on next week for a chat, and I'll ask him some more details about what he can say maybe about those sources, supposed sources in Congress, and a little bit more about this EO and whatnot. So that was cool. I like Kent. Kent's a good guy, though. Kent's a good guy. So we'll see about that. All right, next. Are we finished talking about this movie? Let me go through some of the comments. Hell no, he's not smart enough. You're talking about Spielberg? He's not smart enough for that? Who was that? That was Kent Heckenlively I was on the phone with, who this article on the Gateway Pundit was about. Trump declares war on UFO secrecy in the deep state. A new executive order may be only days away. Grant Stinchfield interviewed Kent Heckenlively. And Kent Heckenlively apparently has sources somewhere close to Congress that mentioned to him that Trump is working on an executive order about UFO secrecy. This is Kent. That's Kent. I've talked to him a few years ago. I haven't spoken to him in a little while, but a few years ago he was doing quite a bit of work in the Maha space, vaccine truth and all that. He's written a book or two on vaccines. And I had him on my show a few years back to talk about that. So I will get him on to discuss my UFOs next week. Not live. I'll just pre-record that one and put it out on my channels. So I'll shoot for Monday for that one. It's getting to Massey. real quick. We won't spend long on this. MAGA rebels flee U.S. after crushing defeat. TMZ got a photo of Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene together with their SIG others. And they were in, where are they? The Bahamas? Costa Rica. It's like expat central, Costa Rica. But, all right. And then I want to touch on this one first, actually. Trump ousted Thomas Massey, files with the FEC for the 2028 House race. This allows him to raise funds to continue his political operations. He said he hasn't made a final decision about which office to seek if he runs. He could very well run for president in 28 and then be filing with the FEC as if he's going to run for Congress to raise funds that... Would he still be able to use those funds to roll that into a presidential campaign? Because this just says statement of candidacy. It doesn't say for what. Well, it says for Congress right there, actually. But that's just the name of the committee. I guess, I don't know. I don't know the whole legalities of election fundraising, but Massey and MTG for president in 2028. How would you feel about that? I'd be a little torn. So there's definitely things I highly question about MTG and Massey. But there's a few things I like about them. There's things I like and don't like. And the internet very polarized, very divided on these figures. They either love them or hate them. I understand why. But here's a question I got for Massey.
Clause actually protects you from being prosecuted for whatever you say on the floor of the House. You have named names in the Epstein files in the past. Can we expect you to name more names in the coming weeks and months?
Yes. Todd Blanche is violating the law. There's still millions of files they haven't released. We know from talking to the victims' lawyers that their own 302 forms haven't been released. We know that files have been over-redacted. I have released at least 3 names of billionaires who are implicated in this. I don't think it's possible to get to convictions with Todd Blanche at the top and with the FBI director, Kash Patel, at the top, because they've effectively both perjured themselves by saying that there's nobody else in the files. Even Melania doesn't believe that. The First Lady knows that Jeffrey Epstein didn't act alone. And here's the great thing, Kristen. Whether I'm in Congress or not, the Epstein Files Transparency Act is a law, and it goes on for years.
Pretty sure he only ever tweeted about Epstein like 2 or 3 times before last September, before like last year. It was an issue he never really discussed before about 9 months, 12 months ago. And I would bet money that everybody he claims he's going to name, if he even names them. Because you remember, at Massey's press conference for his Transparency Act that took place 9 months ago, last September, you had all of the quote-unquote Epstein survivors go in front of the microphones and say, we're going to put together our own list. We're going to put together our own client list, and they never did. I would venture to guess if Massey names anybody, it's probably going to be a bunch of names that are already publicly known. Like we already know about quite a few associations that we learned back in 2019, 2020, like 6 or 7 years ago. We'll see. Tulsi Gabbard to go nuclear on the deep state before leaving ODNI. Last week, Tulsi Gabbard says she's stepping down in a month to go take care of her husband. She may be leaving, but between now and her final day as Director of National Intelligence, Gabbard intends to make her departure felt by the deep state. Gabbard plans to release findings from a string of sensitive investigations in weekly installments. This is according to the Daily Wire. Okay, exclusive from the Daily Wire. I guess the Daily Wire still exists. But they want me to sign up. No. Maybe that's why you're losing subscribers, because you're putting everything behind a frickin' paywall. I've seen a few things on the Daily Wire lately. Isn't Ben Shapiro like bleeding followers like crazy? Now he's doing Minecraft videos, trying to be hip with the kids. Or didn't they go through a bunch of layoffs too? I forget. Yeah, I can't get this article. I can't find anywhere to remove this paywall, but let's go back to the Zero Hedge on it. It doesn't say. Okay, the revelations will include declassifications covering the Havana Syndrome, the origins of COVID-19, the alleged weaponization of the federal government under recent Democrat administrations in the 2020 presidential election. That is everything that dig group, Director Initiatives group, was set up to investigate. So this is what that whistleblower from last week, the whistleblower that talked in front of Congress about Fauci covering up COVID. What was his name? I forget his name. But that whistleblower, he was a part of this group, the dig group. My diggers. And Tulsi Gabbard set up this group as pretty much as soon as she took office last year. And it was basically meant to investigate a bunch of deep state intelligence community crimes, Russiagate, 2020 election, COVID cover-up. And pretty much it looks like Tulsi on her way out is going to be dumping a bunch of info regarding what this group uncovered. Now, here's the thing. This could be the freaking plan the whole time, is because we've got Kosh Money over here, FBI and DOJ working on the grand conspiracy case. This is what John Solomon reported on almost a year ago. This is what it's all about right now, really. This is what's going on that barely anybody knows about. So John Solomon reported on the FBI's grand conspiracy probe about let me see if I can bring up this article. It's like a grand conspiracy RICO case. Here it is. FBI opens grand conspiracy probe on weaponization, opening door to a special prosecutor. FBI quietly launched an investigation into a decade of Democrat Party and deep state antics, from Russia collusion, weaponization, Hillary Clinton's emails. Here's all the things they're looking at. Hillary's private server, Russiagate, 2020 election, covering up Hunter Biden's laptop, like a ton of stuff. And then, so Tulsi Gabbard, on her way out, she's going to say, fuck it, and release what her group, her dig group, has been working on here, which will then give that grand conspiracy case over here a hell of a lot more information that they will then be able to use to start prosecuting, indicting. I bet that's the whole freaking plan. On her way out, Tulsi is going to give Kosh and alley-oop. Yeah. Which will be right before America's 250th celebrations, right? What if we get some indictments, some first indictments right around then? Tulsi starts declassing next week. 2 weeks. You know, July time frame, we start finally getting some indictments. We shall see. We shall see. We got Pam Bondi over here. Scoop, Trump appoints Pam Bondi to White House AI panel. I guess that's her, like, what do they call that? Her jobs Trump's kind of giving her to move out of the administration. But I guess she has thyroid cancer, they're saying. Pam Bondi's got thyroid cancer. Is that the reason she's on the way out? Is that the real reason? I don't know. It's wild to me that so many of these exit strategy, something like that, failed up. Yeah. Exit plan. It got a lot of Trump officials or ex-Trump officials having cancer or dealing with cancer. Susie Wiles, breast cancer. Tulsi Gabbard's husband has bone cancer. Pam Bondi supposedly has thyroid cancer. Chat says, is it a vaccination problem? I don't know. Where you at, RFK? Come on. Disclose the treatments. Start rolling them out. That'd be wild. That'd be wild narrative deployment there. Oh, look at all these high-level officials getting cancer. RFK comes in. All right, speaking of AI, the data centers. Anyway, I hope these people recover, if true. Man, data centers are... Yeah, it's just bad right now. Alarmism. You got that giant data center in Utah. That's what, Kevin O'Leary's data center. That's huge, being built. And opinions are mixed all across the media. Oh no, they're calling it a panic industry. The media is trying to call us stupid over being concerned about data centers. Or they're just trying to promote the shit out of them. Data centers could rev Detroit's new engine. Our data center alarmism isn't surprising. They're calling it a modern panic industry. They use a lot of water and energy. Those are the two big issues, water and energy, that these data centers are using. Plus, what are they being used for? AI and these surveillance systems, they are tools that could be used for good if they were in the right hands, but you know human nature. It's, is it likely that they would end up in the correct hands? I don't know about that one. But aside from how these AI surveillance tools are used, the issue is with these data centers. Another issue is water and energy usage. So our alarmism is well-founded, in my opinion. Which is why I think these data centers need to be put in space, for one, which I think SpaceX is trying to do, and some of these other... Yeah, here we go. Etherflux, where was it? Space-based solar power startup Etherflux enters orbital data center race. I believe Etherflux is ran by a former SpaceX executive. And then you also have Google and SpaceX, Elon himself, and I believe Facebook looking at putting these data centers in space. But that would solve the cooling issue, putting these things in space, and solve the not needing to buy up land or have these giant, noisy, water-sucking data centers. Plus, if they were in space, they could have solar arrays attached to them and be able to garner their own electricity. So put these data centers in space. But for the ones that are on the ground here, I think there are energy technologies coming out that will help to solve those problems. Number one, nuclear is getting ramped up quite significantly, rightfully so. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission rolls out reforms to accelerate small reactor licensing. They are looking at quadrupling domestic nuclear capacity within about 20 years. If my math is mathing. And they are going to greatly speed up their small modular reactor approval, SMRs. The Army, I think the Army is deploying their first small modular reactors by July, within the next 6 weeks. And private companies as well, the private industry is looking at bringing out SMRs. I think they're building a bunch in Tennessee and Utah, which they need to put them in Utah if you got Kevin O'Leary's giant data center being built there in Utah. So this is an answer that I hope will be answering that energy issue for the data centers is nuclear. And another one is space-based solar power. So Meta and other smaller companies are looking at bringing space-based solar energy to data centers, but also straight up just putting solar arrays in space and then beaming that energy back down to Earth. So there's two answers to the energy issue, space-based solar power and nuclear. But I want to talk about the water, as the water is another one. And I would like to see this technology get rolled out for everybody, cities and neighborhoods and military bases and everyone, but especially the data centers, so the data centers don't suck up our aquifers and river systems. But atmospheric water generation, as it's called, atmospheric water harvesting, or atmospheric water generation, as it's sometimes called as well. But basically taking the ambient humidity from the air, because there are quadrillions of gallons of water vapor in the Earth's atmosphere right now. And these atmospheric water generators just basically take the ambient humidity and convert that into liquid water. And they're basically just boxes. Could be the size of, the size of like an espresso machine, could get you a couple gallons a day, or one the size of a semi-truck that could get you thousands of gallons a day. Could make them even bigger than that, or put a bunch of them together. But that would be an awesome answer to... Hold up. I got mute homie in the chat. I'll put you in timeout for a day. What was the company? This is the company that General Quast is associated with. So this is one of the companies, Genesis Water Systems, that makes atmospheric water generators. They're called water cubes. This is what they look like. They already make them. You can buy them. You can buy them on the commercial market for your home or your RV. I would love one of these for an off-grid cabin. See, they're not that big. I think the smaller ones make a couple dozen gallons a day. Then you got some larger ones. Like they got the 10, the 100. This one's about the size of a semi-truck. That'll get you, large-scale water production. I think that one's like good for a home, and this one's good for like an RV. But totally off-grid water generation. Pretty freaking badass. So use these for the data centers. And the thing is, there's so much water vapor in the atmosphere that really there's no effects. You might think, oh, but you're going to make it more dry in the region. The effects are pretty much non-existent. You could be generating tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water per day, and the Earth's just going to regulate itself. Oh, chat says check out Genesis Systems. Yeah. Already was. Why do the data centers need so much water? To cool. For cooling. That's why I should put these data centers in space where it is cold. But they need so much water, yeah, just to freaking cool down. All their computer chips. All the electricity running through them. That's exactly what Terraform is doing, Elon's new company. What's up, Rise? You are probably more familiar with what's going on than Elon than I am. What's Terraform doing? Or do you mean TerraFab? I found a TerraFab company. Semiconductor fabrication plant jointly developed by Tesla, XAI, SpaceX, and Intel. The venture was announced by Elon just a couple months ago. Interesting. So are they trying to domesticate semiconductor production? Because from my understanding, aren't most semiconductors built in this world built in Taiwan? So Elon's really trying to bring that domestic. And are you saying he's going to try to power this with space-based? Or put this in space? They're going to be making the semiconductors in space. There you go. Badass. A lot cooler up there. I mean, that's exactly what General Quast's other company is trying to help do, is space manufacturing. Maybe they'll be working together. But pretty cool. Pretty cool. And I think they plan to roll that into space-based data storage. That'd be pretty neat. Ideally, space-based solar power, too. I know Elon is very invested in his, his batteries and all that, but that's when I would think about buying a Tesla. I would think about buying a Tesla if it was able to trickle charge from a satellite in space. But until then, I'm not going to buy a Tesla. I don't even really like gasoline-powered cars. Those things should run on water. But they got a cool promo video worth playing. Neat. I'll check it out. I'm not going to play it on stream, though. I'm about to be finished up here. I'll bring us some tunes. But the thing about Elon is he is so invested in a very robotic, materialistic vision of the future. And something just doesn't resonate with me at the moment. At least what I've seen of Elon's direction for the future. I don't think we can get intergalactic with that. It's a very reductionist, sort of like cyberpunk. Everything's concrete and metal and robotic. Like I ruminate on Atlantean technology, or at least what is theorized that Atlantean technology was, based on more natural, organic, crystalline structures, energy generation from torsion physics, propulsion from torsion-esque physics. I think of that as like a much more natural, in tune with nature, working with the universe instead of against it. When you constantly have to mine resources and you live in a economy of scarcity, consumption, you're constantly consuming shit to build shit that decays, and you have to consume more shit to build more shit to replace that. You're living in a scarcity model. You constantly have to consume. It's not sustainable. It's really not sustainable. What Elon's doing, he thinks is sustainable, but it's really not. Constantly have to mine the minerals and the rare earth elements to make the batteries. The batteries only last so long. You have to mine more to make more batteries. I mean, it's the same thing with the oil, gas, and coal paradigm. It's unsustainable. It's a consumption-based, scarcity-based model. So why not? If we really want to become sustainable and intergalactic and advanced, like truly advanced, we need to work in tune with nature. Figure out how nature creates energy with vortexing toroidal motion. How does nature propel itself with gyroscopic toroidal motion? Why don't people like Trump and Elon push for free energy? Damn good question. Maybe they are setting up the systems that will help bring that out. They're setting the foundations now. That's what I hope, right? And I think it's quite possible that's exactly what they're doing. If we mine the asteroid belt, it should be virtually unlimited. Right. But even foundationally under that, maybe there's some technology out there where we don't need to mine anything. We can just materialize it. As you said, organic-based tech, something like that. I know I'm letting my brain go into utopia land here, but maybe. Maybe some ancient human civilizations figured out how to do that. Maybe some other civilizations across the cosmos right now have figured out how to do that. And maybe our asses just are obsessed with the wrong path, the backwards path. Or we got programmed centuries or millennia ago to go this way when we really should be going this way. What's the music track? I have no idea. Random YouTube copyright free house mix. Fohammer said, I think what we see Elon doing now is building out the infrastructure for a future world. Maybe, but frankly, with what we see on the surface, I don't think that. Because again, Elon is putting batteries in these cars, putting these solar cells in the ground, still using rockets. Everything Elon is doing is still a consumption-based, scarcity-type, sort of archaic model. Until I see Elon utilizing more exotic propulsion methods, or at least talking about it, or starting to push the envelope with energy generation methods, I'll very easily change my mind on Elon. I think maybe it's possible he's eventually going to go that direction, but from what I've seen in Elon so far, I haven't seen him go that direction. Why not put these data centers in the Arctic or Antarctic and just open the windows for the cooling? Because they need energy too. And you know, for 6 months out of the year, there's no sun, so you can't really get solar power in the Arctic or Antarctic. And what are you going to put a nuclear reactor next to them? Sure, but then you're going to have people. As you can just put them in space. It's cold. Put some giant solar panels on them that get energy 24 hours a day, every day. So putting a data center in Antarctica solves the heating issue, but it doesn't solve the energy issue. Putting them in space solves both. You should see the acres and acres of land in Texas with solar panels. Yeah. And you put solar panels across a few square miles, and that land becomes basically useless. So yeah, if you put them out in the desert where you can't grow anything anyway, that's fine, I guess. But I mean, then you still got to worry about if a big hailstorm comes down and destroys the panels. But like I'll drive across the Pacific Northwest, and we don't have many solar farms out here because clouds. But there's a couple I've seen in like Eastern Oregon and Eastern Washington where it's a little sunnier. But that's fairly fertile ground. They put these big solar farms on, and you can't grow much of anything with these solar panels blocking the sun from getting to the ground. So yeah, I hate that. Land becomes useless where these panels are set up. It sounds like a bad idea to take ambient water out of the air. It's going to affect rainfall. It affects rainfall far less than you think. Because again, we're talking about millions and trillions. I forget the number. It was like quadrillion. 37.5 million billion gallons. So add 6 zeros to 9 zeros. That's like quintillion, right? Trillion, quadrillion. Yeah. 37 quadrillion gallons of water in the atmosphere. It can handle it. Wonder if ocean labs would work underwater facilities, like putting the data centers underwater. Salt water, though. I believe they need fresh water for their cooling systems, which is why it's such an issue. I wonder if the electric cars will be retrofitted when we get 0 point energy. The next logistical step before 0 point energy would be like space-based solar power, just to help kind of ease the idea of decentralization onto the public. But yeah, how would the cars be retrofitted to, instead of having to plug them in to charge them, to be charged from satellites just beaming the electricity to it? Could they be? Or would all these millions of electric cars just become useless? Fusion reactors in between step. Yeah, that's what I think we're gonna see. Getting off this oil, gas, coal bullshit, because we're not dealing with Green New Deal scam tech anymore. That's, thank God, that's over with. But we're still dealing with oil, gas, coal, which is unsustainable. It's expensive. It's dirty, and you still have to. You're still hooked up to the grid, right? You're still a slave with oil, gas, and coal. The next step of decentralization, at least I see, getting off that, is nuclear. First, it's going to be the fission, the SMRs, thorium, molten salt reactors, and all that, SMR. Then fusion, maybe in concert, maybe combined. But that'll be the first incremental step. Space-based solar power after that, which will require far less transmission wires and far less, like, you won't need to plug stuff in anymore. That'll just be a big life change for humanity, not having to constantly plug stuff in to charge it. Imagine that. And just that consciousness shift of not needing to plug stuff in anymore. All of our devices just trickle charge. That consciousness shift will help prep people then for like a 0 point energy type paradigm, where literally every electronic device just has a little, maybe it has a little chip or a little component in it that gathers electricity from the ether. And you don't need any kind of outside force, whether it's a plug in the wall or a satellite in the sky sending electricity to it. It just literally every single device has a component that creates its own electricity. Solid state batteries will be a game changer for sure, but ideally we would live in a society where batteries are not required. Using weather modification for good and increasing rainfall and moisture in areas of high data center clusters. Any of these tools or programs the deep state uses, you could, you know, everything's just a tool. You could use it for good or bad. They need to send some of that rainfall over the west right now. Could have used it over the winter. All right, guys. Any last questions, comments, concerns, complaints? Let me know. Before space-based power broadcast everywhere, point to point will be the first step. Every piece of equipment still needs to plug in. Then we'll start having receivers installed in the devices. Yeah, and those receivers are called rectennas. So with space-based solar power, first, so the satellite, let me see if I can like draw this. I'll just explain it. The cheaper, easier way to send that electricity from the satellites to the ground is to send it via microwaves to a central receiver. And that central receiver will be like right next to a power station, so it can just plug right into the grid or something like that. The second way is to send them with radio waves. And with radio waves, they propagate farther. And that's where you have the rectennas plugged into. So there's almost like a couple different forms of space-based solar power. One that's a little more centralized, that'll probably be the first kind deployed, and that's with satellites, microwaves to central receiver station on the ground, and then plug into the grid and all that. Second kind is with radio waves. From my understanding, it's a little more difficult, a little more expensive, but that way the radio waves can propagate a lot farther. And it's like, that's the Nikola Tesla type shit. And then all of our devices can have a little rectenna that will just convert those radio waves into electricity. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna jet. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. Appreciate you hanging out. And I will see you. Within the next few days. You're great. You're awesome. Thank you. Until next time, friends.